Welcome back to Sage Connections. Today I'm joined by Kathryn Watterson, and we're diving into the world of sound healing. This is a modality that has been around for centuries, but is becoming more and more relevant today as so many people are dealing with chronic stress, nervous system dysregulation, and burnout. In this conversation, we talk about what sound healing actually is, how it works, and how it can support the nervous system, reduce stress, and potentially even influence healing and inflammation in the body. If you have ever been curious about sound baths, frequency, or how vibration interacts with the body, this is a really interesting and eye-opening conversation. Enjoy. What first drew you to sound healing, and how did you become trained in this modality?
Oh, okay. So really to kind of sum that up in the best way I possibly could would be it's been a really long journey in my life from 16 to 56 right now in terms of really kind of being plagued, for lack of a better word, in terms of my health. So I had some pain that started at 16, so chronic pain, chronic fatigue from 16 on, which led into autoimmune, issues. I had 2 bouts with cancer. So it's been a really long journey. I would say, everybody talks about trauma, but I could say childhood trauma that really presented itself in physical ailment within my body. So just a really long journey in traversing my health, for lack of a better word. So it's been a health journey, which then really kind of evolved and opened up into a coast, a parallel journey into spirituality. So those two things together, and going through that whole process, Western medicine has a place. I'm in veterinary medicine, so I appreciate Western medicine, but going through my own health journey, you really can find out that it's broken. And broken in terms of it does amazing things in terms of saving your life and giving you medicine, but in terms of like supporting you through that process, or looking for prevention or looking for a cause, it dropped short. It fell short for me in so many ways. And along that route, I went in looking for alternative methods to help me with my health. So I really went into Western medicine, but then I found an integrative doctor to help me along the way, and then and that was really like diving into the root cause, inflammatory response syndrome, what kind of co-infections were going on. And this was along that cancer journey. So the Western method was dealing with the cancer, but then like, what's the cause, right? What is all this inflammation in your body? What kind of co-infections do you have? And really taking a deep dive in terms of addressing that. And then I branched out even further from that in terms of my own, like seeking out acupuncture, seeking out ozone therapy, vitamin C therapy, chiropractic care. I found you. You're an amazing part of my team. So finding that I needed a team to kind of address everything. And, when you talk about health or cancer, I have no regrets. It's a life changing. You have to look at every aspect of your life. You need to change every aspect of your life. And I had it twice, so I had to reevaluate on 2 occasions, right? And so everything I just said, you couple that with things that we already know, right? You got to have good sleep. You got to have a good HRV, right? You got to have good nutrition, right? You got to move your body. You have to do all of these things. And I was doing all of these things. And still somehow kind of going up in that hill. I'm making progress, but then I'm plateauing. So I'm like, what is going on here? And I got to like what I would consider the golden ticket in terms of like, you can do all of these things and you can have the best team. But like, if you're not addressing your nervous system regulation and being in you're running from a bear every day, nothing's going to change, right? So you got to have everything that I said. You got to have your team. But I had to look in terms of what can I do to regulate my nervous system. When I say regulate your nervous system, I'm talking about how 99.9% of us live, and we are running from a bear. We are in chronic state. If you talk about brainwave, you're talking about beta, but high beta. So chronic, your mind is just firing all over the place. You're obsessing about the same thoughts, producing the same cortisol levels every day, doing the same things. Basically, as Joe Dispenza would say, you're living in the past, right? And then you're producing those emotions and those chemicals, and it's going in day after day after day, and you're feeling it physically in your body, right? Disease is disharmony, in my opinion, and it comes from so many things, but at the root, at the base, what's going to support everything is your nervous system, which is your immunity, and try to be in your optimal self. I felt like this was a huge part that I had to do, right? So I sought out, that began my spiritual journey, really, for me, in terms of, and that may not be for everybody, for me it was. And so I started out with yoga, which everybody does, right? I'm doing the yoga, I'm doing the mantras, I'm doing Sanskrit recitation, I'm loving all of that, right? And then meditation, I tried so many different meditations. And oh my God, the whole thing of monkey mind and controlling your mind, I thought I was just going to scream and throw it all in, right? That never worked for me, this whole idea of like controlling your thoughts or like a guided meditation. So I went through all of those. I found transcendental meditation, and that resonated. And I've basically been practicing transcendental meditation since 2014. That was at the beginning of my cancer journey. I do that every single day, and that makes a huge difference. And then from that came Sanskrit. I got an obsession with Sanskrit, which is the ancient Indian language. A lot of people who do yoga, they know it. It's your mantras, your Om, your, Om Namah Shivaya, all the things you do when you're meditating. I really got into that. And that was my first really experience with sound and how that felt. I'm not a singer. I don't like my voice, but I love humming, and I love the feel of mantras and how they resonated within my body. So that was the first hit. And that kind of correlated with yoga and TM. And then going along my cancer journey, my beloved soul dog got sick with cancer. And so these things that I was doing integratively, medically, I kind of started to incorporate with her. And then I started doing Sanskrit. We would meditate together, and I would do Sanskrit recitation with her. And then that led into this interest into sound. So I was exploring Sanskrit, and that led me, ironically, you follow crumbs in life. And one crumb led into like tuning forks, and there was tuning forks that some alternative vets were using. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just bring that into my veterinary practice. And that's sound and vibration. And so I took a huge course in veterinary medicine on tuning fork therapy and using that. And you can use tuning forks in terms of not only sound and vibration, but you can use it in terms of acupuncture points. So you can combine those two things together. And so I was doing that with our dog Pippa, Anna, myself, and then my wife was doing acupuncture, and I was doing acupuncture. So we were kind of combining those and kind of exploring that with our dog. And then I was like, I really like tuning forks. So I started Googling, and the Dr. Google can lead you on all breadcrumbs everywhere. But I believe that divinely you're guided where you need to go. And then it showed me like I could take a sound course, sound therapy. Tuning forks go with sound therapy. They're just another modality. So that branched off from tuning forks into Tibetan bowls, crystal bowls, drumming, chimes, the whole thing, right? And I'm like, what? But fascinated by it. And of course, because I'm a scientist, I want all the science and the analyticals behind it. So I took a course at Central Michigan University, and it was by a bunch of nurses, medical nurses in the human field. And they were using sound, bowls, drumming, chimes, tuning forks, even the voice for Alzheimer, dementia, MS, and they had a bunch of patients, and they had all this science behind it, and I was fascinated by it. And then again, so where did it go from there? It went into like, what more can I do? I'm like, oh, I'm kind of interested in Tibetan bowls now. So I looked up that, and I found where I got all my certifications as of late, which is the Meditative School of Mindfulness. They have a hub here in Michigan, and they have one in California, and I took level 1, 2, 3, advanced gong, a little Native American flute, and I loved it. I actually went there because I thought I was just going to do the tuning forks and the Tibetan bowls, and I came home with both, and then I got the crystal bowls. Now I've got gongs. It's just, you never know the universe is going to take you. And so I just found like I just thought to myself, I'm just going to take these modalities. Pippa lived way longer than I thought. I brought all these modalities in with her, and it was just my dog and myself and the bulls, and we just spent all this time with all of this sound. I got a lot more life out of her, and I'm grateful for that. But she did pass on into the spiritual world. And then I just continued on just doing the bowls with myself. And I combined that in with my meditation and Sanskrit recitation, and I just saw a huge difference in how I was dealing with stress in my body and how I felt like all of this fibromyalgia, this tension, this block that I had start to kind of change, right? And then how I kind of saw my body being chronic inflammatory response and being chronic pain. You spend so much time outside of your body, not connecting to your body, that this really started this connection with my body. I never thought I would do it with people at all. But then my wife said, hey, a good friend of mine, she's got a cancer diagnosis, she's got a brain tumor. Would you try the bowls on her? And I'm like, sure, okay. And then it took off with her, and I've seen her for 6 months. No, excuse me, 7, 8 months now. And I see her twice a month. And just going through that whole process with her, with the bowls, and me feeling like this connection to be able to give back, especially for someone in cancer, going through cancer, meant such a personal thing for me. And then also just to be able to explore the bowls, and I feel like when I go on a journey with her, I go on a journey with her. Like it's about her healing and my healing and us both resetting our nervous system together. And I've learned so much. And then that kind of opened the doors to now I'm doing group sound healings, private events. I created a website after my beloved Pippa, Pipparoo, and it's just kind of taken off. I'm kind of dabbling in sound in both humans and people. I mean, both animals and people, and here I am. And at the bottom of everything is just this really passionate feeling about sound, and knowing that more than anything else, that we live in a chronic state of dysregulation in the nervous system. And I'm not a healer. I'm not here to heal anybody. But what it did for me is what I could do for others, which is provide an environment to bring your nervous system down in the most natural way. I create an environment that allows your nervous system to go, hey, I remember, oh my God, thank you. I can let go and relax, basically, in a nutshell. That's
Yeah.
what happened. Yeah.
I mean, I full disclosure, I also, we work together as well,
Yeah.
and I found this to be one of the best modalities I've ever found for calming the nervous system. I mean, I think there's a big push, sort of in Western medicine to go the medicine route, right? Where it's not free, it's
No.
got side effects that go along with it, and this is really the best modality that I have found to calm my nervous system when I need it. So on that note, can you tell us a little bit about the history? I mean, sound healing definitely has roots in a lot of ancient cultures. Can you share a little bit about um, the history of it and how um, sound is used as a healing practice? I know you said you weren't trying to heal anybody, but I think it is essentially used for that, at least um, as some kind of modality
Yeah.
to help assist in healing.
And it is healing. I use it for healing myself. If I can regulate my nervous system, then that's healing, right? Then I'm getting closer to being in my optimal self, right? I'm in a state of balance. I am performing optimally. I'm in good health, right? And when you're dysregulated, a healing needs to occur. I just don't want to give the impression that I'm putting my hands on somebody with these bowls and I know that I'm healing them. Like when my friend comes to me and they're going through a cancer diagnosis, it's about providing an environment where her nervous system can relax and that supports the healing process. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I wanted to say about that. It's just supporting the healing process, but it is about healing. And if you go back to the ancient roots, yeah, sound began, and using sound, back in the day, you could go, we all know this from an ancestral, go way back. It's like sound is in our DNA. Do we not respond to music? We do. Everybody loves music, right? And music can either like upregulate your nervous system or it can bring it down. It can evoke tons of emotion, memory. It produces all these emotions and chemicals within your body. I believe that we're drawn to that because we've known that our whole life. We've known that lifetimes of sound and music, our voice, humming, singing. If you go way back, I mean, you can go back into times of looking at, the Greeks, they used it. They used it with a lot of mathematics. So there's like this philosophy about like discovering like the world's purpose, how we got here. It got really kind of out there in like 5D. But you can go back, into Tibet. You can go into India. You can go back into the indigenous people. Go back into Native American, where we, go back to our roots, right? And using a lot of these musical instruments were in the voice were used in ceremonial kind of ways, but a lot of it would be ceremonial, but then you get past the ceremonial and it really is getting into kind of a medicinal kind of. And the medicinal part of it was always about getting the person to go into a meditative state, relaxing the mind and getting, you would have a mix of spirituality in there, but they used it in a medicinal way to kind of relax the nervous system, open the veil, right? Get the nervous system to relax, and then the body can heal itself. And I think that so many cultures go back in time.
Yeah.
I think you can look at any culture really, and they've used sound in some capacity.
Yeah, and I think we know that stress is such a huge cause for so many things, whether it's chronic pain, whether it's even, potentially manifest as cancer and all these different things, but inflammation and things like that. So even in my practice, a big piece of it is to actually down-regulate the nervous system from the sympathetic fight or flight into the parasympathetic. And I use breath work for that, as well as kind of manual techniques and things like that, if there's tight muscles and things like that. But when we talk about actual nervous system regulation, um, it's through breathing. But I think the sound is another great way to go from that sympathetic fight or flight, which most of us are very much in all the time, into the rest and digest, and where we can feel more connected, because in that high stress kind of ego mode, it's really hard to be grounded, and that can cause a lot of kind of sideways things as well.
Yeah.
So for someone who's never experienced sound healing before, what exactly happens during a session? I mean, I know, but just for the audience who doesn't know, what happens during the session and what might they notice in their body or their mind?
Okay. And one thing I just want to comment on that, like I appreciate breath work, I appreciate yoga, I appreciate meditation. One thing I think about sound is that these modalities, you actually have to do something, right? In most meditations, you control your mind, or you have to do yoga, or you have to learn the breath work, right? There's something that you have to do. When really what I love about sound is that for those people that struggle when there's something that they have to do, sound is about you come in, you lay down, you bring a mat, you bring water, you bring a journal, you lay down and then allow, right? Just let go. You don't have to do anything, and just allow me to provide an environment of sound around you and guide you on a journey very methodically, thinking about things. And now we'll talk about later about like entrainment and resonance. It's like knowing what to do to kind of bring you into using tones that are very melodic, very methodic, very grounding, very soft, very peaceful, using those and bringing you down and bringing your heart rate down, bringing your respiration down, bringing your brain waves down, taking that vagus stimulation from fight or flight and the bear. It's like running from a bear. So you're unsafe, you're in a state of fear, and creating this environment over 90 minutes where I'm creating this sound, these melodies, these vibrations, these tones, very rhythmically with patterns, very organized patterns to decrease everything on its own. All you got to do is lay there and allow it to happen. It's like I said, create an environment that allows the nervous system to remember what it naturally wants to do, which is to go into a state of balance, right? We're up here in fight or flight. You come in, you're stressed out, your mind is whirling. That's why I like 90 minutes, because I think it takes people at least 20, 30 minutes to let go. Now, some people have been doing it all the time and they come in, they lay down, I start hitting my bowls, they're out. Some people go right into sleep. They just bypass everything, they're snoring. Other people, if it's new for you and you're laying there, a lot of times you fight it. You're in fight or flight when you come in. Most of us are in a state of tension when you come in, right? Your mind's reeling. You're like, I don't know if I like this. You know, it feels funny in my body because you can actually feel the vibrations go into your body. And so for me, it's you come in, you lay down, you allow, and I play for 90 minutes and I take you on a ride. I take you into a trance. I go really low and slow. There's a point where I'm going to then create some dissonance. So those are going to be melodies that don't necessarily go together, or maybe I go play in the upper part of the gong. That feels like dissonance. It feels like aggravating. It's taking you from like you're going down into parasympathetic into like a light sleep, and then I bring you back up. I rock you a little bit, right? And that's just trying to break things up and release energy. We can talk about that. And then I'll bring you back down and I'll bring you out. 90 minutes of a ride.
Yeah. So what does that actually mean? I guess from how do vibration and frequency actually interact with the body?
Yes. Okay. So right from the get-go. Okay. So when I am playing the bowls, when I'm playing my instruments and I'm starting out, right, there's something that's called resonance. Okay, so I'm going to start out and I'm going to be playing my bowls and my instruments, and I'm going to pick out specific ones specifically to start out playing tones that are there's a harmony to them. They're low, they're slow, they're grounding, to try to get you to start getting out of your mind. So start decreasing the energy. You know, your brain is firing all over the place. I want that brain activity to start to slow down. I want the heart rate to start to slow down. I want the respiration to start to slow down. And this is what actually starts to happen. Why does it happen? It happens because of something called resonance. So resonance is such a physics term, and I love this because resonance and entrainment are super important in a sound bath, and you need to understand that. And this is where I think certification, instead of just going and playing your bowl, there's something to really kind of understand the science, and there's physics behind it. What actually plays, like, so if I laid you down on my table and I played 3 bowls on top of you, whether I'm playing those bowls on top of you or I'm playing them around you, what happens when I start playing those bowls is they produce tone, frequency, vibration. So there's a vibration that goes out, right? And that vibration, actually, we are vibrating. Everybody's vibrating, right? Even the table is vibrating. There's atoms that are moving about. You just can't see it. So everything has an energetic pulse to it. Everything is vibrating. Your body is vibrating. And then I play these bowls and they're vibrating. And the vibrations actually go into your body. They go into your skin. They go into your muscles. They go into your tissues, your fascia. They go down into your cells. You actually feel it on a physical level because it's actually going into your body and vibrating. So resonance is your body's response to the vibration that I'm creating. Your body's vibrating, and then I'm creating this vibration, and they're both vibrating together. Now, that goes from a point of physics. If you have 2 tuning forks, and I hit this tuning fork and it's vibrating, if this has a similar frequency like your body, if I put the tuning forks together, this unvibrating tuning fork is going to start vibrating to this frequency when I put them close together. And that's what's happening in your body. And that's why people go, God, I actually feel it, like a tingling or a warm sensation. Can even cause agitation because you're feeling it on a cellular level, muscle, fascia, it's going in. A good way to see that is if I actually took a Tibetan bowl and I put water in it and I hit it and you looked at the water, you'd see the ripples go across the water. That's vibration moving through water because water is a conductor. We're 99.9% water. So we're a conductor of that vibration. What you see is it rippling across. If you were actually able to look through the bowl, you'd see it ripple across and you'd see it ripple down. And that's what's happening in your body. Most people know it when you hit a gong. That's why I don't like the gong, because that just ripples through the room. It goes through your body, spreads out, it goes down. You're like, ugh, I hate that thing. but it's much more subtle with the other instruments, depending on what I'm playing and how I'm playing it and how your particular nervous system responds to that. So that's one way. That's resonance, right? So your body starts vibrating to the vibration that I'm producing. And there's something called entrainment, which is physics as well. That's why I love it, because science behind it, right? Your body is going to entrain to the vibration that I am playing. And this is why I think 90 minutes is important, because some people can entrain really quickly. They can let go really quickly. They can go down into parasympathetic really quickly, and some people fight it. So it takes a while for that to happen. What ends up happening is that it's the same thing. It's a syncing up of the vibration, which then will lower you into those states of parasympathetic. So entrainment is just another syncing up. So I start playing, and I start playing I start playing my bowls and my gongs, and I'm doing it in a very rhythmic pattern and a very melodic pattern and a very structured pattern. And I start playing these patterns, and you'll start, if you were paying attention, you start hearing these patterns. Like I said, play this pattern for a while, then I go over here and I play this pattern, and then I get the patterns to play together. And that's producing a vibration and a frequency that's going out. And when you have all this sympathetic arousal and chaos, you're firing like this. This is what your nervous system is doing, right? Your brain's doing this, your heart's doing this. These are not connected. They're not balanced and grounded and being coherently firing together in a very grounded pattern, rhythmic way. They're just chaos. That's how you got to come in.
For those who are listening, you're pointing to your head and then your heart, right?
Yes, your head and your heart, your brain and your heart, and they're firing. Your respirations are, your heart rate's up. Your brain is like firing in high beta. So you got all these thoughts and high stress. And so biology looks for balance. That is the way of the world. No matter what, you have creation and destruction, and no matter where you are and whatever point, these two are parallel to one another. And biology is always looking for balance. It always wants to go there. What do we do as human beings? We're always looking to feel better. Why? Because that's a state of balance, right? We're in this stress. We usually numb and we do things that are not good for us, instead of really calming the nervous system down. But what you're doing is you're just looking for balance when you don't have balance. So what ends up happening with entrainment is that your nervous system, your biology, hears this very calming rhythmic pattern going on. You already have resonance. They're already vibrating to what I got going on. And then you latch onto it. So your brain starts firing. If we were looking at your brain waves, which is what Joe Dispenza does, it would actually start seeing that it actually starts, instead of firing like this, it starts becoming very coherent, and parts of your brain start firing and wiring together, and it starts in a very rhythmic pattern. Same thing, heart rate and respiration drop down, they start firing in a very rhythmic pattern because it's following the pattern that I am providing. And the nervous system goes, oh my God, thank you, latches onto that and lets go in its natural biology. So it's resonance and entrainment. It's a syncing and a coherency. It's creating that within the nervous system as it takes you from a fight or flight down into parasympathetic in a very just natural biological way. Your body wants to relax, and we don't give it an opportunity to do that. And I put you in this environment, and even if you fight it, it's still going into your cells. It's still getting in there, and it's still affecting your nervous system. If you let go and allow, it'll really drop you down. It'll take your brain waves actually from a state of beta, which is high beta, just firing all over the place. And I start playing, that'll drop you down into alpha, which is kind of like, you're starting to slow down. You're like, okay, maybe this is okay, right? Maybe this is okay. And then if you really start to let go, respiration drops, heart rate drops, brainwave starts to settle down. You start going in instead of out. Stop thinking about your day. Start thinking about how it's feeling, warm and kind of fuzzy and relaxing. Then you might slip into delta, which would be sleep. Some people sleep, they snore, but they're in deep sleep. And that's great. But where I think the magic happens is if you can slip past the delta and your brain waves go into theta. That's where you're not sleeping, but you're not really aware of the environment anymore, but you're having a lucid dreams, lucid visions, creativity is occurring, It's kind of a description I would describe in my own meditative process where I know I'm not sleeping, but I'm not aware of the room anymore. I'm not aware of my body. Some people describe they don't hear the gongs I'm playing by their head they don't hear anything, but their awareness is there. So the awareness is there. And if you were tracking it on the brain, you could actually, Joe Dispenza does it, you could actually see the body shift down from sympathetic into parasympathetic. The nervous system, the vagus nerve, the heart rate, the respiration, and your brainwaves actually shift down. So it's like going from high gear into low gear. And I'm just creating that environment through resonance and entrainment and playing these, methodic tones and vibrations that are resonating into your body and your nervous system. And it's like, thank you. I can relax. I can let go. If you're talking about moving energy, it's talking really about what we're like this all the time. We're just holding tension. If you relax your nervous system, what's that feel like? It feels like letting go and open. It feels like restriction, open.
Yeah,
That's
receiving
receiving, right? And that,
versus controlling.
yes, exactly. Yeah. Fighting versus allowing, right? Really
Yeah.
high upper regulation or real slow it down. And imbalanced, balanced, grounded.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of discussion right now about psychedelics and how they help with um within the therapeutic kind of world, right? The
Yeah.
psychotherapy and things like that. But this is a modality that kind of gives you a similar experience in some way without the drugs,
Yes.
without putting anything
Yes.
in your system. I mean, this is working with your own. I love that you said that about the water because we're made up primarily of water. And so just like you can see the ripples in a bowl, or if you toss a rock into a lake and you see the
Yes.
ripples, right? Like
Yep.
that really like made sense to me when you described it that way. That we are, we're so receptive to this kind of therapy because of that.
Yes.
Um, so for someone listening who is just really curious about trying sound healing, what would you say to them? I mean, we've covered so much of this, but if somebody's kind of on the fence, what would you say?
I know a lot of people are like, I get a lot of people like kind of like they don't believe it or they're afraid of it or they found it irritating. A lot of people have a negative response to gong. Um, and I would say that, and I think I've already said it. I feel like I've had this long journey, right? And I've dabbled in so many things, and they're all important. Everything I've said, Western medicine, integrative medicine, all the mumbo jumbo, nutrition, move your body, all of that, right? If we want to be our optimal selves, right? You want to be your best self and live your best life, right? You want to make decisions that are coming from a regulated nervous system, right? Those are going to be the best. That's where the infinite potential. What you put out is what you pull back into you, right? I love attraction, right? So how can you live your best life? Starts with health. And so at the crux of everything I said, I think all of these things are important and having a team is important, but we are constantly in a state of stress and living, we're like running from a bear on a chronic basis. And that's all of us, right? I mean, look at the world we live in. This is just a really high stress, right? That we live in. And so how do you self-care, right? And I feel like so many modalities that you can do that where you slow it down. You can meditate, you can do yoga, you can do breath work. All of those things are amazing. And I still incorporate all of those things. I just feel like I said, like this is the golden book. Like I'm Willy Wonka. Like I'm Charlie. Like I found like something that really requires no effort. I can just play the bowls and lose myself. I don't have to think, stop thinking. Really. I mean, there's a letting go, but I feel like the letting go with this modality, it's so biologically natural that if you just give me enough of your time, I'll get you to let go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Wonderful. So, I mean, I can't thank you enough for doing what you do. You've helped me personally so much, especially in the last few weeks. It's so helpful. If anyone's interested in trying a sound healing session, Kathryn does both private sessions and group sessions, and we will include all the information about how you contact her and how you can attend one of these classes in the show notes. So thank you so much. I hope that everyone listening who's even a little bit curious just at least tries it once and they can see that it's life changing, but even if it's not life changing, it feels amazing. It just feels so relaxing and nice and it's a beautiful, beautiful modality and it's so incredibly helpful and it's safe and there is a lot to it. There's a lot of history and a lot of research behind it. So I encourage everyone to try it at least once.
I really appreciate that. I encourage you to try it more than once, but that's just me. But I'm also not a big promoter. I can just say that it really has changed my life. Um, I can't guarantee that for everybody, but I can guarantee that in some way or another it would have a positive effect on you. Um, and I will just, toe it out to you, Luba, that you're part of my team. So for me, you're just as important as my sound healing. I encourage people to have a team. I recommend her highly. She's part of my team. She's helped my body so much and helped me connect to my body, which is even more important than I think the physical work. And really helped me to understand you've been a part of it too. I think we had so many conversations in the beginning when I came to you about me just exploring trauma in my body. And we had these conversations and talking about how it's in my fascia. And I'm just like, I said to Luba, you can work on me. And then 2 weeks later, I'm back here and I've got all this tension and you're working on it again. And I think that's super important. And what you do is so amazing and so helpful. But those two things got to go together, right? I got to work on me and then bring that to the table and have those two things go together. So I think you need a team in life and I think self-care is important. Um, and I don't know, I think sounds amazing. I recommend it. And I'm so grateful this opportunity is to even talk about it with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to Kathryn Watterson for sharing her knowledge and perspective on sound healing and the role it can play in supporting the nervous system and overall wellness. If you're interested in learning more or experiencing sound healing for yourself, be sure to connect with Kathryn. I will include all of her information in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, share it with someone who might find it helpful, and leave a review. It really helps more people find the show. As always, take care of your health and your wellness.